One of our employees here at STACK Cybersecurity recently received a scam call, and our employee had the foresight to record it. So let's go through a real scam call and show you how the caller builds the scam step by step. It's not about a dramatic voice or an obvious trick. What makes these calls effective is they sound structured, specific, and official. In this particular call, the caller presents the situation as a federal fraud matter, references a court appearance, names a judge and a courthouse, and later claims there are warrants and a gag order in place. Listen to how quickly the caller frames this as a legal matter. They ask whether the person is in a confidential space. That does two things at once: creates authority and reduces the chance that someone interrupts the call. Let's take a listen.
In this court appearance in regards to a federal fraud case, ma'am, are you currently in a confidential area at this point so that way I can discuss your legal?
Yes.
Okay, so understand that the Honorable Judge did sign off on a suppression order for this federal fraud case, ma'am. Do you have any knowledge as to what a suppression order is at all?
What judge?
That would be the Honorable Judge Stephen Miller.
From what court?
That was for the Eastern District Theodore Levin U.S. Courthouse.
In Detroit?
Right away, the caller has set the tone. This isn't a casual conversation. It's a legal matter, and the request for privacy narrows the target's ability to reality check what's happening. Now listen to what happens next. The caller starts layering in names and locations. This is where specificity becomes the tool.
Yes, ma'am. 231 West Lafayette Boulevard, room 300.
And what is the court case number?
Give me a second to pull that up for you, man. Okay, I'm currently looking at 24. Do you have a pen and piece of paper with you, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be 24-CR, dash. Give me one moment, actually. 24-CR dash.
This is a common pattern in deceptive calls. The more details the caller supplies, the less likely the target is to stop and ask a basic question. How do I know any of this is real? Here, the caller uses a judge's name, references a specific district in Detroit, and a street address. This next section matters because it makes the interaction feel procedural. Listen for how the scammer uses a case number and asks the target for a pen and paper.
To pull this up, 1964-FTA-COC.
And who are the parties involved in the suit?
So this is a federal fraud case at this point, ma'am. There are numerous of individuals involved in this case. There are over 250 different individuals involved in this case. So you should have been made aware that your identity was compromised, ma'am. You didn't receive your summons back April 8th, 2026, ma'am.
Once someone starts to write things down, the call can start to feel formal and credible. That's a powerful shift, even if the information itself is confusing or inconsistent. Here's the pivot. The caller moves from explaining the supposed case to positioning the target as someone whose identity was compromised and whose summons was already signed for.
So the courts were under the impression that you actually received the summons and that you were going to come to court.
What is he trying to get you to do?
So what is it that I need to do?
So at this point, man, you have 2 warrants, and we do need to get you into the sheriff's office in order to get this matter resolved. We do need to get your warrants placed inside of a frozen status. We do need to have you conduct a signature comparison analysis, man. There are a couple orders that the judge signed off on in order to keep you inside a compliant status, ma'am, if we're looking to get this resolved. As I stated, you have the 2.
This is the moment the call tries to move from abstract legal language to personal risk. It's no longer just a case somewhere in the system. It's your identity, your missed summons, and your problem. This next section is where the pressure becomes explicit.
To get this matter resolved, and we have to place your warrants inside a frozen status, man.
So I don't understand what you're asking me to do.
So at this point, understand that the Honorable Judge signed off on the suppression order as well as the make and maintain contact order. Are you familiar with what a suppression order is at all, ma'am?
No, I'm not familiar with any of this.
So a suppression order is also known as a gag order, ma'am, which means that any of the information that you have learned in regards to the case, leading up to the case, or dealing with the case, as well as your legal matters at this point, ma'am, they are confidential, which means that you cannot disclose them to anyone inside of the public. Failure to do so will result in an obstruction of justice.
The scammer says that there are 2 warrants out for the target's arrest, and that she needs to go to the sheriff's office to resolve the issue. That's a major escalation, and it's designed to push the target into compliance before they stop and verify anything. Listen to this next clip. After the threat comes control over communication. Listen to how the scammer tries to prevent outside discussion.
You are liable of putting the individual, whoever you disclose your legal matters to, in legal jeopardy, okay? So, I want to make sure that you disclose, that you keep your legal matters confidential at this point, and that you do not disclose your legal matters to anyone inside of the public, okay, ma'am?
No.
I didn't understand that answer. What do you mean by no, ma'am?
You asked me a yes or no question. I said no.
So you don't understand what a suppression gag order means?
I don't care. Who's the judge again?
Oh, you don't care.
In that clip, the caller described a suppression order, specifically calling it a gag order, and says the information cannot be disclosed publicly. This is a strong isolation tactic. If the target genuinely believes that they are not allowed to talk about the call, they are significantly less likely to verify it with anyone else. Finally, listen to what happens when the target stops cooperating with the script.
So we're just going to get a unit out, ma'am. You don't have to worry. Once you come in, we'll have all the proper paperwork for you to fill out. In regards to this disappearance, but you will be taken into custody, and we will get it out to your last known address. Thank you, and have a great day, ma'am.
This is often where a scam call starts to break apart. Once the target stops accepting the framing, the caller has fewer options. In this case, language moves quickly into a direct threat. This call is a good example of how pressure is built in layers. First comes authority, then specificity, then paperwork, then personal risk, then the threat of consequences, then secrecy. If you receive a call that presents itself as official, don't treat that presentation as proof. Slow the interaction down. End the call. Look up the organization independently and contact them through a verified number. Remember, the more pressure a caller applies, the more important it is to stop and verify.
What the fuck was that for?